A global economic powerhouse, a beacon of celebrity culture and shimmering dreams, a place where fortunes are made and futures are forged. This is Los Angeles, the heart of California, a state whose economy, if it were its own country, would be the fourth largest in the world, having surpassed Japan in 2024. Yet, just a short drive from the glamorous streets of Hollywood, a different reality unfolds, a stark, devastating landscape of human suffering. This is the truth behind the curtain of wealth and fame. This is Skid Row. Skid Row, a neighborhood of despair. For more than 26,000 people, Skid Row isn't just a neighborhood. It's a desperate existence. It's a sprawling 50-block area, nearly 1 square kilometer, that has become a concentrated epicenter of homelessness, poverty, and addiction. It is, without a doubt, one of the most marginalized and impoverished areas in all of America. Tents line the sidewalks, forming a grim, makeshift city where people sleep on the ground, their possessions spilling out into the open. The sheer scale is staggering. But why here? A prevailing, yet simplistic, theory is that people are drawn to California's breathtaking beauty and its year-round, temperate weather. While this might be a factor for some, it barely scratches the surface of a deeply complex humanitarian crisis. The raw numbers tell a more chilling story. A staggering 216,000 unsheltered people are homeless in Los Angeles, many of whom have found their way to Skid Row. This neighborhood, a place where people's lives collide with devastating force, is a last stop for many who have nowhere left to go. The human faces of the crisis. The common image of a homeless person is often a stereotype, someone who is an addict, mentally ill, or simply unwilling to work. But as we walk the streets of Skid Row, we learn that the reality is far more complex and heartbreaking. While drug addiction is a significant issue here, it's not the whole story. We spoke with a knowledgeable California businessman who has a close view of the situation, and his insights were eye-opening. The people living here are not a monolith. Each tent holds a unique story of loss, struggle, and desperation. Some are veterans who served their country with honor, only to be forgotten and left without support when they returned. They fought for a nation that seemingly abandoned them, leaving them to fight for survival on the streets they once protected. Others are former inmates, released from prison with no resources, no family, and no place to go, their past ensuring they remain trapped in a cycle of poverty and despair. Still more were once average citizens who lost their jobs, fell into debt, and were evicted from their homes. A sudden illness, a layoff, or an insurmountable medical bill can be all it takes to shatter a person's life. Then there are those battling mental illness, abandoned by families, and overwhelmed by a healthcare system that has failed them, leaving them to fend for themselves on the streets. While many here are struggling with addiction, it's crucial to understand that for many, drugs are a coping mechanism, a temporary escape from an unbearable reality, not the root cause of their suffering. Imagine breaking a fire hydrant just to get a shower. That's the level of desperation we witnessed. The paradox of aid. Is help hurting? Skid Row is home to a multitude of organizations that provide critical services, hot meals, clean clothing, and even temporary shelter. These organizations are often the only lifeline for thousands of people. Yet, a controversial question hangs in the air, whispered among locals and experts alike. Are these organizations truly part of the solution, or, as some claim, have they become part of the problem? The concern is rooted in the idea that a high concentration of services, while well-intentioned, can inadvertently create a dependency that discourages people from seeking long-term solutions or moving away from the area. The reality is far more complex than the simple question suggests, but it's a critical point to consider. To truly understand this dynamic, one must look closely at how these organizations operate and, crucially, where their funding comes from. To shed light on this, a visit was made to one of the largest organizations in the area, an institution that receives direct funding from the U.S. government. The facility, which has 900 beds, offers a critical service, a path to recovery for those who choose to leave drugs behind. Here, people who once lived on the street can find a place to stay and a chance to rebuild their lives. It's a powerful example of an organization working to provide tangible, long-term solutions rather than just temporary relief. The systemic failures behind the crisis. California is a state of immense wealth, and America is the richest country in the world. So, with massive budgets and a robust economy, Why does this humanitarian crisis persist? The answer lies in deep-seated, systemic failures that continue to leave the most vulnerable behind. One of the primary drivers of homelessness is unfair housing policies. The cost of living in Los Angeles is astronomical, and wages have not kept pace with the soaring rents and property values. For someone struggling with a low-paying job or a sudden financial setback, a single missed paycheck can mean the difference between having a roof over their head and living on the street. The policies that govern housing have not been able to create a market that is accessible and affordable for everyone, pushing people into a cycle of instability they can't escape. Another major factor is the lack of a comprehensive, free healthcare system. The United States healthcare system is a fragmented and often inaccessible patchwork. For those suffering from mental illness or grappling with addiction, the cost of treatment can be a prohibitive barrier. The lack of accessible mental health services means that many people who could be helped end up spiraling into homelessness, their conditions worsening without proper care. Finally, the crisis is exacerbated by America's powerful capitalistic and individualistic system. This system often prioritizes profit and personal achievement, with a philosophy that emphasizes self-reliance above all else. While this can be a powerful engine for innovation and success, it can also create a harsh environment for those who, for whatever reason, fall through the cracks. The safety nets that exist are often insufficient, and the societal expectation of individual responsibility can lead to a lack of empathy and systemic support for those who are struggling. A glimpse of hope and the harsh reality. In the midst of this overwhelming despair, there are moments that reveal the shocking nature of the crisis. Imagine a young couple sitting in a BMW, using drugs inside their car. It's a surreal and jarring image, a symbol of the pervasive reach of addiction, even in the heart of what many would consider the middle class. The opulence of the car and the desperation of their actions create a stark, unforgettable contrast. On Skid Row, a designated bin for used syringes highlights the grim reality of daily life. The bin, a testament to a community trying to prevent the spread of disease, serves as a sobering reminder of the constant, life-threatening risks faced by those living on the streets. Money, misery, and a broken system. America is the wealthiest country in the world, yet its streets are littered with people who have nothing. This staggering paradox points to deep systemic failures. The money isn't reaching those who need it most. Instead, it gets tied up in complex bureaucracy, unfair housing policies, and a powerful capitalist system that prioritizes profit over people. The lack of a comprehensive free healthcare system is a glaring gap, leaving people with mental health and addiction issues to spiral out of control. Walking through the sprawling encampment, the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. We saw a young couple in a BMW, not a sign of success, but of a different kind of tragedy. They were using drugs inside the car, a stark reminder that addiction and homelessness don't discriminate based on your past possessions. The juxtaposition of luxury cars and torn tents on the same block is a visual metaphor for the chasm between the two LAs, one of unimaginable wealth and the other of unimaginable despair. It's a daily reality for the residents who have to navigate this landscape just to get to work. The stories we heard and the sights we saw paint a disturbing picture of a city struggling to address a crisis it might be unintentionally perpetuating. This isn't just about drugs or mental illness. It's about a failure of systems, a lack of compassion, and a community left behind by the very society that promised them a chance at a better life. Final thought. While the struggle in Los Angeles is immense, we must not lose hope. The first step towards solving a problem is to understand it. The next is to demand that the solutions we implement truly help people, rather than simply maintaining the status quo. A call to action. The stories on Skid Row are heartbreaking, but they are not anomalies. They are a direct result of systemic failures, policy shortcomings, and societal indifference. The individuals on these streets are not a faceless group. They are veterans, former inmates, people with mental illness, and people who simply lost everything. To understand the full scope of this crisis, one must look beyond the individual and examine the systems at play. The money is there. The resources exist. The question that remains is whether the will exists to truly solve the problem, rather than just manage the symptoms. As we end our journey through Skid Row, the question is no longer what is homelessness, but what are we going to do about it? This crisis, in the heart of one of the world's wealthiest cities, is a mirror reflecting a deeply troubling truth about modern society. The vicious cycle, poverty's grip on L.A. Images depicting generational poverty, families struggling across multiple generations, scenes of overcrowded classrooms in underfunded schools, individuals being denied health care due to lack of insurance, charts illustrating income inequality and lack of social mobility in Los Angeles. While homelessness is the most visible manifestation of extreme poverty, a much larger segment of Los Angeles' population is trapped in a relentless grip of poverty, a cycle that perpetuates hardship and contributes to both homelessness and vulnerability to crime. Understanding the multifaceted nature of poverty in L.A., extending beyond just income levels, is crucial to breaking this destructive cycle. Generational poverty is a deeply entrenched issue in many communities across Los Angeles. Children born into families experiencing poverty often face significant disadvantages from the outset. Limited access to quality education, health care, and nutritious food can have long-lasting negative impacts on their physical and cognitive development, hindering their future opportunities for social and economic mobility. Studies have consistently shown a strong correlation between childhood poverty and lower educational attainment, increased risk of chronic health problems, and a higher likelihood of experiencing poverty in adulthood. For example, research indicates that children who experience poverty for more than half of their childhood are significantly less likely to graduate from college compared to their non-poor peers. The lack of access to quality education in under-resourced communities further perpetuates the cycle of poverty. Schools in low-income neighborhoods often struggle with inadequate funding, outdated facilities, and a shortage of qualified teachers. This can result in lower academic outcomes, limiting students' opportunities for higher education and better-paying jobs. This disparity in educational opportunities directly impacts social mobility and makes it difficult for individuals to escape poverty. Similarly, limited access to affordable health care poses a significant barrier to escaping poverty.